Around age 60, my dad's obsessions, anxiety, depression had taken over, leaving him a shell and physically diminished. He was bipolar and pretty much swung in the high range of the spectrum. Bigger than life, hilarious, life of the party, our fun dad, Papa Scooter. This is why the lows were probably lower than low. But most of my life, he hid that from us, from the world, until he just couldn't anymore. That Christmas we went on family vacation, and it was the first time all of us kids experienced his physical exhaustion from depression. Barely a glimmer of our fun dad. Except this one time we went to our favorite Italian restaurant, and right before we left, the owner ran over to say, hey, how's it going? And I held my breath because I thought, he's great at working the room. He loves it. But he seemed so lost. Like, what would he say? And I braced myself, but the switch flipped, and old Scooter sprung into action. Hey, weather's good. It's great down here. On and on. And I was mad. Really mad. Hurt, confused, not really sure. Because I thought, or it felt like he was faking it, his pain, for sympathy with us. But it took me a bit too long to realize that the opposite was true. His whole life, when the stigma of depression forced him to fake joy and bravado, even with us, his family. That's the power of stigma. So as a loved one and an ally, I tell you this story with sadness and some guilt, but mostly I tell you to let you know your reaction is totally normal. Your brain is an organ. Its job is to think. Of course I processed that, his reaction, thinking, convinced he was fine. I wasn't ready to consider the alternative. So give yourself a break. Don't beat yourself up. The love you have for this person is not diminished by mental illness or your reaction to it. Know you can have a wonderful, loving relationship with a person who has depression. That was our last family vacation with my dad. On October 1st, 2013, his resilience to fight for his life ended, and he died of suicide. So I'm an ally and an advocate, and I talk because I can. My dad loved Ghostbusters, so do I. So in his memory I say, we ain't afraid of no stigma. Ask me anything. There's not much I won't answer, and I can start. No, suicide is not selfish. Yes, I know he loved me and my entire family very much. No, I don't have to forgive him for anything. I would never say, I forgive you for dying of a stroke. These forms of illness and death, mental, physical, they're one and the same. After watching him physically and mentally disintegrate over a year or so, I know that mental illness is the same as any other chronic illness. We need to change the unbelievably stigmatizing language so we can have a real conversation about suicide, grief, death, and life. No one, particularly not doctors, would ever say, she had a failed attempt of a heart attack and lived. Or, he successfully committed cancer and died. So stand up, allies and loved ones. Speak up for those stigmatized into silence, including other allies. Help us change the conversation about mental health and suicide. Please share my message, and most importantly, I love you, Dad.